No, you don't lack discipline. And that's exactly the problem, because if discipline were the issue, the solution would be simple. Wake up earlier, work harder, push through, stay consistent. You've already tried that more than once, again, and again, and again. So why does it keep failing? Why do you keep making promises to yourself, only to break them a few hours later? Why do you know exactly what you should do, yet somehow never do it? The answer is uncomfortable, because the real problem isn't discipline. It never was. The real problem is that your brain no longer finds effort rewarding. And once that happens, everything begins to change. Not just your habits, not just your productivity, your decisions, your identity, your future. Slowly, quietly, almost invisibly, until one day you look back and realize you've become someone different, someone who keeps waiting instead of acting, someone who keeps planning instead of moving. And the frightening part, most people never notice the shift. They think they're lazy, they think they're weak, they think they need more motivation. But beneath the surface, something much deeper is happening. Something that is quietly rewriting the way they experience effort, reward, and meaning itself. And the most dangerous part, most people never realize it's happening until years have already passed. Your phone. Just for a minute, just to check one thing. One notification, one message, one quick scroll. And then 20 minutes disappear, then 40, then an hour. And before the day has even begun, you already feel behind, already chasing time, already losing ground. But that's not the strange part. The strange part is that you knew it would happen. You knew exactly what you were supposed to be doing. The workout, the project, the studying, the business, the thing you've been telling yourself you'll start for months, maybe longer. Yet somehow, you found yourself doing something else. Again, not because you forgot, not because you didn't care. You knew, the whole time, you knew. And that's what makes it so unsettling. It's almost like you're sitting in the passenger seat of your own life, watching yourself make decisions you never intended to make, watching your hand reach for the phone, watching yourself delay, watching yourself drift, and somehow being unable to stop it. If you've ever felt that feeling, that strange split between what you want to do and what you actually do, you're far from alone. Every morning, millions of people wake up believing they need more discipline, more willpower, more self-control. They believe they're fighting the right battle, but they're not. Because millions of people are trying to solve a problem that isn't actually the problem. And until they see what's really happening, the cycle continues, day after day, month after month, year after year. What if the problem isn't today? What if the real danger isn't what happens this afternoon or tomorrow, but what happens after years of this? Because every single day, your brain is learning, always adapting. Every distraction teaches it something. Every shortcut leaves a mark. Every instant reward strengthens a pattern. And the frightening part, it happens quietly. So quietly, most people never notice. Day by day, choice by choice, scroll by scroll, your brain begins to change what it values. Slowly, almost invisibly, you start losing your ability to appreciate things that take time. The things that once required patience, effort, commitment. The things that create meaningful futures. And once that happens, something even more dangerous begins. The future starts fading from view. Not because you don't want it, not because you've stopped dreaming, but because your brain no longer feels connected to rewards that are far away. It becomes trained to chase what is immediate, what is easy, what is available now, and everything else begins to feel distant, abstract, unreal. That is where dreams start disappearing, not in a single moment, not through some dramatic failure, but quietly, like a photograph fading in sunlight. One delayed action, one distraction, one small choice at a time, until one day, the future you once imagined feels like it belonged to someone else. Imagine two buttons. One gives you a reward, right now. The other gives you something far greater, but not today, not tomorrow. 6 months from now, maybe longer. Years ago, your brain could see the value in both. You could tolerate boredom. You could sit with discomfort. You could invest effort without needing an immediate payoff. You could trust the process because effort itself felt meaningful, like a bridge to something better. You didn't need constant proof that it was working. You simply kept moving. Now imagine something changes. Imagine thousands of tiny rewards competing for your attention every single day. Notifications, short videos, infinite scrolling, online shopping, entertainment arriving instantly. Whenever you feel even a second of boredom, every spare moment becomes filled, every pause becomes occupied, every silence becomes interrupted. And slowly, the first button begins to change. It becomes brighter, louder, more irresistible. It starts demanding your attention again and again and again. Meanwhile, the second button remains exactly where it was, quiet, distant, patient. But now it's harder to notice, harder to choose, harder to care about, until eventually it almost disappears from view. Not because it stopped existing, not because you became weak, but because your reward system learned a different rule. A rule repeated thousands of times. Choose what feels good now. Ignore what arrives later. And once that rule takes hold, the future begins losing its influence. Not all at once, but slowly, quietly, one reward at a time. This is where everything starts making sense. The confusion, the frustration, the feeling that something is wrong, even when you can't explain what it is. Suddenly, the pieces begin to fit together. The reason reading feels impossible. The reason learning feels exhausting. The reason building something meaningful feels harder than ever before. It's not because those things lost their value. A book is still valuable. Knowledge is still valuable. Skill is still valuable. A meaningful future is still valuable. Nothing about them changed. What changed is what they're competing against. How can a book compete with endless novelty? How can practice compete with instant entertainment? How can deep focus compete with 1,000 distractions waiting in your pocket? And how can reality compete with machines specifically designed to capture your attention and never let go? Every swipe, every click, every notification, an entire industry fighting for one thing: your focus, your time, your mind. And over time, the competition becomes impossible, not because the important things became weaker, because the alternatives became stronger, far stronger. The result is devastating. You stop investing in the future, not all at once, but gradually, quietly. You stop doing things that improve your life 6 months from now, and start doing things that improve the next 30 seconds. A quick scroll, a quick video, a quick hit of stimulation, and eventually, the pattern becomes your normal. That's when people begin saying, "I've lost motivation." But motivation was never the first thing that disappeared. By the time motivation vanishes, something else has already been lost. Something deeper, something more important. The reward system disappeared first. And once that happens, motivation doesn't stand a chance. A broken reward system doesn't just steal productivity, it steals possibilities, entire futures, the business you never started, the book you never wrote, the language you never learned, the opportunities you never recognized, the version of yourself that never had the chance to exist. Most people imagine failure as something dramatic, a single mistake, a single bad decision, a moment that changes everything. But failure rarely arrives that way. Most of the time, it's microscopic, almost invisible. 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, one distraction, one delay, one excuse that feels harmless in the moment. Nothing that seems important, nothing that feels dangerous. But the pattern repeats again and again and again, thousands of times, until those tiny moments begin stacking on top of one another. Days become months, months become years, and eventually you look back, not with shock, but with a quiet sense of confusion, wondering where the time went, wondering why the life you imagined never fully arrived. And that's when the painful truth begins to surface. You didn't fail because you lacked intelligence. You didn't fail because you lacked talent. You didn't fail because you lacked potential. The potential was always there. The future was always possible. But your attention was consumed long before that future had a chance to grow, little by little, day by day, until the things demanding your attention today became stronger than the life you were trying to build tomorrow. And by the time you notice it, years may have already passed, not stolen in a single moment, but taken one distraction at a time. Maybe the most dangerous lie you've ever believed is that your failures prove something about who you are, that every unfinished goal and every broken promise, every abandoned project reveals some flaw deep inside you, that you're lazy, weak, undisciplined, broken. So you carry those labels year after year, repeating them so often they begin to feel like facts. But what if they were never true? What if those labels were only symptoms, mistaken for an identity? What if the real story is something else entirely? Because when a reward system becomes conditioned to chase immediate stimulation, the consequences look personal. From the outside, it looks like a lack of discipline. It looks like a lack of commitment. It looks like a character flaw. But appearances can be deceptive. For years, you may have been fighting the wrong enemy, attacking yourself, blaming yourself, trying to force yourself into becoming someone different, trying harder, pushing harder, demanding more from yourself, only to end up in the same place. Not because you lacked effort, but because effort was never the real issue. The problem wasn't your character, it was your conditioning. Years of repeated patterns, years of repeated rewards, years of teaching your brain what to prioritize, and that realization changes everything. Because something that was conditioned can be reconditioned. Something that was trained can be retrained. The moment you truly understand that, something shifts. The weight begins to lift. The endless self-blame starts losing its grip. And, for the first time, you stop seeing yourself as the problem and start seeing the system that shaped the behavior, the system that shaped the habits, the system that quietly influenced the choices. And once you can see the system, you can finally begin changing it. But once you see this, another question appears, a deeper one. If instant rewards have damaged our reward systems, why do so many people still feel completely unmotivated? Because on the surface, that doesn't make sense. After all, we've never had more stimulation than we do today. More entertainment, more excitement, more novelty. more things competing for our attention every waking moment, an endless stream of content, an endless stream of rewards, an endless stream of dopamine. So why does motivation keep collapsing? Why do people feel more exhausted, more distracted, and less driven than ever before? That contradiction should bother you, because it suggests something important, something most people never consider. And here's the part nobody talks about. A damaged reward system doesn't destroy motivation. It transforms it. It creates a different kind of motivation, a counterfeit version. Motivation that feels exciting, feels meaningful, feels productive. You feel inspired. You make plans. You imagine the future. For a moment, it feels like change is about to happen. But then, nothing happens. No action, no consistency, no progress. Just another burst of excitement, followed by another return to the same habits. And once you recognize that pattern, you begin seeing it everywhere. In other people, in the culture around you, and perhaps most uncomfortably, in your own life. Because the truth is, your motivation isn't gone. It never disappeared. It's simply trapped inside a system that keeps overstimulating it. A system that constantly triggers desire without creating action. And once you understand that difference, everything begins to look different. Because your motivation isn't gone, it's overstimulated. And that's what we'll explore next. Your motivation isn't gone. It's overstimulated.